Hello and welcome to episode 110 of the How to Survive podcast. This week it's the second in our latest franchise that we've been covering, and it is of course Paranormal Activity 2. Joining me alongside the pool cleaner in the pool is Joe Sherville.
That will only make sense if you've seen the film.
Yeah, where a pool cleaner plays a crucial role.
Yeah. At the end where the axe is about to fall and the pool cleaner says, "No!"
Yeah, it dives in the way of it.
And if you haven't seen it, maybe you think the pool cleaner is a person. You'd be wrong.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Paranormal Activity 2, now is your chance to go and watch it on Netflix before we spoil it all, because on the How to Survive podcast, we like to talk about the film in depth before we talk about how we would survive.
That's right, Chris. I was worried because you hadn't said your name yet. I didn't want people to not know who you are.
Well, my name is Chris, as you said. Thank you for reminding me. So yes, your final warning for spoilers as we tackle the second in the amazing, spooky Paranormal Activity franchise.
Yeah.
And here we go.
This is your room, Hunter.
Hey, Jackal. Who is that? It's your Aunt Katie. So weird. I totally thought we lost it.
Somebody broke in and trashed the house. Christy thought it was a ghost. I know you guys are freaked out, okay? And I'm gonna take care of you guys.
What's your take on this whole ghost situation?
I think it's awesome. This is the freakiest thing that happened to me last night. This is the door closing by itself.
An apparent burglary occurs at the home of Christy and Daniel Rey. All the rooms are trashed other than that of their infant son Hunter. Nothing appears stolen, but to be certain, the family installs security cameras around the house which capture many spooky occurrences, like noises or objects apparently moving on their own. The otherworldly commotion prompts Nanny Martine to begin burning sage in order to ward off evil spirits, an act for which she is eventually fired.
Because Daniel got to be grounds for unfair dismissal.
Because Daniel does not believe in ghosts, basically.
Yeah, to the point where if someone burns sage in his house, he fires somebody by telling them they've been fired while he hands them their already packed suitcase in the driveway.
Although, in fairness, his explanation is also because he doesn't think his infant child should be breathing burning sage, which is, is probably
not entirely unfair.
No. Christy comes to believe the house is haunted and shares her suspicions with her sister Katie, previously seen murdering her boyfriend in Paranormal Activity. A title dramatically informs us that this is 60 days before the death of Mika Sloat. Katie unironically tells Christy to ignore the problem, as that tactic worked when they were terrorised as girls. Daniel's teenage daughter, Ali, does some internet research and concludes the demon probably wants Hunter. It appears an ancestor of Christy and Katie traded the soul of their firstborn son for wealth or power, and that Hunter is the first male to be born into the family for generations.
It's a bit of a leap, isn't it?
The terror quickly escalates in predictably unpredictable fashion, with pots, pans, pool cleaners, doors, and even the family dog assaulted by the paranormal presence. Eventually, Christy is dragged into the basement, the only part of the house inexplicably without camera coverage, and emerges an hour later, clearly possessed. Ali convinces Daniel of the haunting by showing him the security camera footage of Christy being attacked, and he enlists Martine to help exorcise the demon. After a brief struggle and some demonic growling, Daniel manages to exorcise the demon from Christy by burning a photo of her sister Katie, transferring the demon to her. 3 weeks later, Katie visits and subtly mentions strange goings-on in her house. On October 9th, a date no doubt written into Paranormal Activity folklore by this point, Katie arrives at the Rey household fresh from the murder of Mika. She snaps Daniel's neck and kills Christy before leaving with Hunter, whose cries turn into laughter off screen. An epilogue text states that Ali was on a school trip and returned to find the bodies of Daniel and Christy. Katie and Hunter's whereabouts remain unknown. And I'm sure we'll find out what happened to Katie and Hunter in the next thrilling instalment of Paranormal Activity.
Have you seen it?
I think I've seen 3, but I've definitely only watched it once if I have.
Yeah. I hadn't seen 2.
Mm-hmm. And what did you think of Paranormal Activity 2?
Well, it's rubbish.
Okay.
It's rubbish in all the ways Paranormal Activity 1 was good.
Okay, that's an interesting statement.
Yeah. So Paranormal Activity 1 was good because I think you said at the time, it redefined the found footage genre.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically opened the door for this new wave of spooky, something goes bump in the night kind of movie, right?
Yeah.
And we had, off the back of that, things like Insidious, things like Sinister, things like, I guess to an extent, The Conjuring, these like haunting sort of films.
Yeah.
Which we hadn't had for, some decades, I guess, in a big way.
Yeah.
The problem is that movie redefined it. And by the time they did the second movie, it was already old hat.
Mm-hmm.
And all the things like that were compelling and creepy and spooky in that first one are now formulaic and irritating.
Okay.
Let me give you an example.
Please do.
So they have to establish why the cameras are there, right?
Yeah.
And in the first one, it was like, oh, we're being haunted. I'm going to go and buy a camera, right?
Sure.
That's fine. In this one,
Makes
it's,
sense.
oh, we've been burgled. So I'm going to install cameras around the house.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really give a good reason for why they have handheld cameras at all major events.
Yeah.
In
Well,
the film.
I differ with you slightly on this because I think the handheld cameras are explained by the fact that they've got a newborn child.
Yeah.
So because most of it isn't, here's a document of spooky stuff with my handheld camera.
No.
It's let's just document Hunter doing cute stuff.
Mm.
And then later it turns into Ali's like demon investigation vlog.
Right.
Which it starts to stretch credulity by that point.
Yeah, there's one scene where they go, oh, let's go and watch the footage of the pool cleaner because it keeps getting out the pool.
Yeah.
And she shouts, can I film it? And they go, sure. Right?
Yeah.
Where you'd go, well, what the fuck are you talking about? No, why would you film that?
I mean, surely you'd be like, yeah, if you want.
Whatever, yeah.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Mm.
Yeah.
But still, why, I don't know. It's like,
I agree that it starts to stretch credulity. And especially when, suddenly they're carrying it into the basement to look for thingy.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you not have a torch that you can use instead of using the night vision on your camera? Chekhov's night vision. Yeah.
It's the Blair Witch again, isn't it? Blair Witch Project had 2 point of view cameras.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity 1 had 1 point of view camera.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're already up to about 7 or 8 with this one.
Yeah. Have you seen the film Chronicle?
No.
Which is a sort of found footage superhero film. And in that, it's like the first 3/4 of it are relatively plausibly a found footage film. Like with all the usual amount of, sort of
cutting.
Yeah, the usual amount of sort of credit you have to give it. And then the last third, or like the last battle scene, it's like fucking like police vest cameras, mobile phones, security cameras, like GoPros, police car videos. Like it's just absolutely mad, basically. Yeah. But it's I wonder how the series is going to progress in that regard. Like, is it going to become, oh look, we've got such and such a new gadget, and we'll just pop this here, and we're going to put this like other thing, and that's going to record like, something else. It's just like an excuse to have as many cameras as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, with each new camera technology, I guess they have to release a new Paranormal Activity movie.
Yeah, basically.
Looking forward to a VR one next.
Or like a 360. See, that would be all right. Like a Paranormal Activity VR or like 360 degree experience. I could see that working.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Yeah.
Other things that, I mentioned are formulaic and starting to grate on me a bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned like when they go in the basement and it goes to night vision. That's just an excuse to use night vision. And I think it's also a reason, the reason they have that is because they're desperate to put some action in. And because if they did the exact same as Paranormal Activity 1, it would be like boring.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, well, let's have some running around and using different
Screaming,
levels.
growling.
Yeah. The problem is you can't tell what's happening. And I think obviously they want it to be confusing, but it's just like, what do I care?
They're on a hiding to nothing really with that, aren't they? Because if it was so clear that you could tell what was going on, you'd be like, well, how are they holding the camera that straight when they're fighting and all that sort of thing? But that's why it would work with the security camera stuff, but not with someone holding it.
Running into the basement where there's no security cameras makes it a bit like convenient. But there's a good Roger Ebert quote. Can't remember what the movie was, but it applies to those scenes for me, which is to the extent that I didn't understand, I didn't care.
Yeah.
But that's only going to get worse, I'm sure, with the rest of the franchise.
Yeah. I'm quite intrigued to see how it goes, because at least I think with these films, they have to do something different each time. It has to have like a gimmick each time. Whereas with Friday the 13th, there was no gimmick. It's just Jason kills more people.
Yeah. Well, I disagree. I think with Friday the 13th, the formula is person goes in room or outside of room or into place alone, and then Jason comes and kills them in what's meant to be an interesting way.
Right.
But usually just stabbing from off screen.
Yeah.
Whereas the equivalent in Paranormal Activity, I think, and this is like, if there's more of this coming up, then great. Really in for a treat. Is we essentially have a static image of people asleep in bed.
Yeah. And then like the covers will move
for several minutes at a time.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking, it's minutes. And then there's a low hum on the soundtrack, which is like, and it gets a bit louder.
Yeah.
And then an object will move.
Mm-hmm.
And you get about 7 or 8 of those scenes in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's meant to be getting progressively scarier because, a bigger object moves or a louder bang happens at the end of it.
Yeah.
But it's so like, it's just like,
formulaic.
Get on with it. Like, she's downstairs looking around and you hear a bang upstairs. Well, you have cameras upstairs, so why are you showing us like the downstairs, right?
This is exactly one thing that annoyed me, right? Because this opens with the whole like Paramount Pictures would like to thank such and such, right? Which fine, they're going to do that with every one of them, I presume. But again, it spoils the idea that this is a found footage, like actual found footage, and not something that's made for entertainment. And that what you just said exactly epitomizes that as well, because so many of the scenes are a person in the kitchen and they hear a rumbling upstairs, and it's just them looking upstairs, and then they go upstairs and we see what they see. Whereas something's causing that noise upstairs, presumably. Yeah. Why aren't you showing that? If your documentary that you're showing, that you're thanking the families for letting you use the footage for, is a
realistic telling of what happened.
Yeah, or like look at this amazing footage of Paranormal Activity. Then why are you like creating the tension for it? Like you're making it into an entertainment product by
the spectacle is the Paranormal Activity taking place.
Yeah,
like the woman being dragged down the stairs. You see that happen.
Yeah, like with the first one, the editorial parts were like where it cut and when they sped it up and things like that. In this, it's like, what camera should we show for an event? And again, that's like another level of mediation that I think makes it unbelievable.
Well, let's go let's use the downstairs camera 4, and we'll have the maid walk around. Let's go to 3, get from a different angle, bang upstairs. We won't cut to the upstairs cameras, we'll just let her walk around a bit more, track her upstairs to see nothing. It is a bit naff, isn't it?
Yeah.
When they do that. Do you think that's... you are a video editor, right? That is your job. Do you think that sours the meal a bit because you can't enjoy it because it's like, oh, they're just editing?
No, I don't think so, because it's like, I don't... Like, as much as I just said all that, I don't watch it imagining like a fictional documentary filmmaker like going, oh, now we're going to cut to this bit.
Yeah, because you have an idea. You have the sense. You have the awareness that there's 8 different sets of footage that can be cut together. You know that, right? Whereas I guess a 14-year-old in some American town, might not know that, might not realise that there's, they could only be. Maybe they think there's only one active camera at a time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really watch it thinking about that, because the idea of it being like a, not an entertainment product is so silly. Like, because of the way every scene is structured, to have that arc of like, the tension, the build up, and then the scare or not. Pretty much every single scene that happens at night, like you can tell is going to have that structure. So it's like the idea that it would ever be like a sort of not a thing created to service that arc of tension is ridiculous anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. The one interesting scare in this movie was during the day, actually. She's walking around the kitchen and sits down at the table, and then all the cupboard doors just burst open.
Right.
And it's like, you can tell like the actress clearly knows it's going to happen, and she doesn't know when.
It's like plugging her ears.
Yeah. Like when it goes, I think that it's a genuine reaction, because it's like so loud and it's so sudden.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's like authentic filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
The rest of it's pretty naff.
I mean, like the best bit about that scare for me is that in the aftermath, she decides to ignore it, and then for once you have like a, like in Paranormal Activity, the best bit is like knowing that Katie stood over Mika all night and not knowing why. Like similarly, the best bit of this film is like, that stuff happening and you knowing it, but the rest of the family don't, and she just like flat bats away all the questions about. But like, at least with the first one, the possession seemed to be sort of gradual, and in this one it's like she gets dragged into the basement and then becomes a zombie, and is completely catatonic, and so like there's less of that sort of interesting bit, I suppose.
Exactly. Last week we talked about From Dusk Till Dawn.
I remember it fondly.
Yeah, and we talked about how that's a film that suffered from having not particularly likeable characters.
Okay. I'd say
Paranormal Activity 1 had what were actually quite likeable characters. I think at the time we joked that Mika's a bit of a dick, but Katie was a nice person. She was like, they were enjoyable to watch together because they were kind of an authentic couple.
Yeah.
The problem with this movie is that the father, Daniel, is actually a douchebag. He's entirely unlikable.
Yeah, he's
got this like entitled big shot attitude, but because he's a fat nerd, it doesn't work. He just comes across as like an arrogant nerd, basically, and it's very cringy.
Used car salesman, or like that type.
Right, yeah. So I mentioned earlier, he sacks the housekeeper without giving her notice.
Yeah.
Just basically gives her packed bags and says, "See you later." By the way, why do they have a nanny? Like, the mother doesn't work.
I don't know, America?
I don't think that's not true. Anyway, he uses the phrase "man cave." That's pretty cringe.
Yeah.
And has a discussion with Mika about how different areas of the house are for men and different areas of the house are for women.
Sure.
And that's a bit like, come on.
Yeah.
It's 2017.
It's another era. Well, it's not 2017 when they made it. 2008
or whatever.
Yeah.
He brandishes a dead bird over his head and claims he's going to go and eat it.
Yeah. Where have we seen that before? With the rabbit.
Kill List.
Yeah. Where he did actually eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
He berates and belittles his family about their worries about the haunting. Now, even Mika didn't believe Katie when she said that it's haunted, right?
Yeah.
But he at least tried to find plausible explanations by setting up the cameras and by like saying, "Oh no, maybe it's this, maybe it's that," right? And although he kind of like ridiculed her a bit, he was understanding that something was worrying her. Yeah. This guy is a fucking anus. Like, he just like shuts them down if they try and talk about it. He's like, "No, we're not having a conversation. No, fuck off. Fuck you. Fuck everyone." Right?
Yeah.
That's not a quote, but yeah, he's just generally just a prick.
Yeah. He's not particularly likeable. I think Ali is the most likeable character.
Yeah.
The teenage girl. For not any reason in particular other than that she's a fun character. And you sympathise with her because she's around for a lot of the unpleasant stuff. Yeah. But like, yeah, I agree in that the lead two aren't particularly likable, and in particular Daniel.
It's a fair point. So what do you, I mean, we mentioned it earlier a little bit about the reason the cameras are there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's compelling enough to say, oh, there was a break-in, we better install all these cameras? And also, I'm just going to drag this handheld camera around everywhere.
Well, like I said, I think it gives enough of an excuse for the two things. Like, Hunter is a newborn, so it makes sense that they would film a lot of stuff. And also, you know, they've had a break-in, therefore it makes sense that they would get a security system. I think those two things are justified. Like I said, as it develops, you know, generally I'd imagine in those sorts of situations people would actually end up filming themselves less rather than more, because they'd be stressed and sort of upset.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, if you start picking that hole in any found footage film, then the whole genre starts to fall apart, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's probably why it did.
Yeah.
The one other thing that annoyed me, by the way, and I think it's going to get worse, is it's a thing in movies, right? When they show a video camera being used, people just change the way they talk. So they go from like just talking to like having a conversation now to because they know they're being filmed. They'll be like, "Oh, you know what, Chris? I'm the best podcaster in the world, and I'm here with another great podcaster, huh, man?" And like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, or like expository dialogue sort of thing.
Hey, I'm your sister. Hey.
Like, again, that's
okay.
I don't. That stuff doesn't bother me.
It's never happened.
I'm sure it has.
It never has.
Yeah. People make videos for their kids all the time.
No, in films.
Well,
in Breaking Bad, it happens, and they go around. Oh, this is your brother, and he's like, "Oh, shut up, Amy, I'm your Aunt Marie." Like that shit. Like, fine. It's a good way of explaining who the characters are. That's it. It's not realistic. And if this is supposed to be,
I bet people do it. I bet you will end up doing it.
I won't do that.
I bet you will.
I will not.
I will not. Just out of like stubbornness now. And your child in 20 years' time will be like,
who are these people?
Why didn't you explain any of these things?
Yeah.
I wish I had a video of our family before it happened.
Those videos don't exist. There's no one thinks, I know. I'm going to explain to my child.
There's a BuzzFeed article about these sorts of videos every single day.
There is not.
Devoted father filmed himself saying I love you every day for 20 years, then gave it to his daughter.
Different. That's different to I'm going to film all the family members so that you can watch this video at some point and learn who they are.
No, I'm sure it's happened.
No, it hasn't.
I guarantee. Well, I mean, everything's happened, so it will.
So, in the original movie, some things happened, and they happened again in this film, didn't they?
Yeah.
We finally got an origin story for Mika's camera.
Yeah.
That we were always hoping for.
Yeah, exactly.
Katie's in it.
Yeah. It's amazing to see the day leading up to Katie finding out Mika had a camera.
Yeah.
Like, it's great to put those two things together.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Honestly, that's fascinating stuff.
Because at the beginning of Paranormal Activity 1, where she pulls up and says, "What is that thing?" Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, it's my camera." And
it's like, you see it again. Yeah. And obviously you're watching it this time, Joe, with the sort of the emotional resonance of, everything that happens from that point onwards. And then the scene ends with the bit where she says, "Oh, I'm not going to kiss the camera. I'll give you a kiss." And then it's like, cuts to black. And you're like, "Oh, it's really sad that they died."
Yeah. Well, she's
still at large. Yeah. Whereabouts unknown. Yeah. Poor old Mika.
Yeah.
I mean, Mika's death, as they say, like 60 days until the death of Mika's life, is very much the sort of like event zero of the whole Paranormal Activity franchise in many ways, isn't it?
Well, so at the moment we've got a timeline.
Right.
I'm just thinking off the back of that, right?
Yeah.
Children have haunting.
Yeah, they are haunted. They ignore it. It goes away.
Yeah.
After Christy gets sad for a bit.
Yeah. Then they had the older daughter has a baby, and it's a boy. Demon comes back. They pass it on to the other family.
Meaning sister, Katie.
Yeah. Who
eventually succumbs to the possession
and kills Mika.
Yeah.
And then goes and kills Daniel and
Christy.
and takes the baby.
Yes.
That's where we're at the moment.
Correct.
So I'm guessing Paranormal Activity 3 will be the story of them as children.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Great. Katie has a chance, doesn't she, to confess that she's haunted to Mika.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I said in the last episode we did about this that her not telling Mika that she's haunted by demons is tantamount to murder. And that is even clearer when she knows that there is a genuine risk of the haunting returning.
She doesn't know that, though.
She does. The sister's like, "Oh, I've been haunted again. Don't tell me about that, mate."
No, that's fine. Like, that's not new information to her. So,
well, it is. And when the haunting happens to her, she should say, "Hey, you on camera, by the way, because there's cameras everywhere. Like, Mika, you know, being haunted. Well, my sister reported the same thing the other day because she's still alive and we're in regular contact with her. And, you know, we go to her house all the time."
Yeah. But then since that point, she says, "Oh, what happened with all that stuff?" And she goes, "Oh, no, it was nothing. I think I was overreacting."
There's a scream comes from the bathroom and the guy with the camera runs into the bathroom to see what it is. In the first movie, it was a spider.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, it is a poo.
Yeah.
That's good. There's another seance.
Yeah. A Ouija board thing.
Yeah.
Pussy hunt.
Yeah. Meaning?
Well, that's what the Ouija board spells out.
Yeah. What does hunt mean? Oh, hunter.
Hunter,
right.
yeah.
Great. And Mika, of course. Poor old Mika. 60 days before he dies.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not in this movie, so why put it in?
What, him dying? Yeah, but we're Paranormal Activity fanatics, so we know all that already.
If it was a documentary and you sat down and watched, like, this is the second part of a documentary.
Yeah.
And it was... It isn't... It's just very, very irritating to me.
Right.
Is it about Mika or is it not about Mika?
Well, that's what I mean about saying it's ridiculous when it comes up with that title, because it's just like so hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
In the world where this was released as a documentary, is the Mika story like...
Imagine like a documentary 2.
Yeah.
Like, when's that ever happened? Bowling for Columbine 2.
Where like
there's been another Columbine massacre.
And there's just like freeze frames of like Dylan or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Columbine being like, in 2 weeks later, he was dead.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it wouldn't happen. But I tell you what will happen, Joe, is our discussion of how we would survive in the film. And it'll be coming up right after this.
This episode of How to Survive is sponsored by Mr. T Luxury Teas, who bring you this week's piece of useless IMDb trivia. This week's film is Paranormal Activity 2. The trailer for this film was banned in some theatres for scaring teenagers and small children. That fact might not be worth knowing, but Mr. T certainly is. Head over to Mr. T Luxury Teas to choose from a wide range of traditional, herbal and fruit teas from all over the world, packed with health benefits and gathered to help you get the most out of your day. Visit mr-tea.co.uk or Google Mr. T Luxury Teas to find us. Use offer code SURVIVE at checkout to receive 10% off any order you make.
So it's difficult to do a what do we know as such, because
see Paranormal Activity 1, I guess.
Yeah, but it's just sort of, demon, not ghost, and demon decides that it wants to reclaim the soul of the firstborn son of this family, and terrorizes them by at first moving pots, etc., and then I guess it feeds off their fear, gets stronger, moves bigger pots, moves cupboard doors, kills dog, and then, eventually possesses someone.
Well, it doesn't kill the dog, it just makes it ill.
Oh, sorry, yeah. It gives it some kind of seizure.
I know that because it was explained on camera.
Yeah.
Which is a relief.
So, with all that said, with all that great knowledge, Joe,
yeah,
how would you survive?
Well, my first idea is for the demon. It doesn't die anyway.
Yeah.
But, well, we like to say how to be more efficient, how to survive better if you do survive. And this is a problem I have with haunting movies in general.
Okay.
Why do you make people think that they're just being clumsy and forgetful, and then make them realise that they're being haunted? Why not just cut their heads off? Or just break their necks, push them down the stairs?
But I've got basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Which is like, why would you? I mean, if your campaign of terror involves like misdirection, distractions, and stuff, like, why bother with all that? Because from quite early on in the film, it appears that he can lift the toddler out of his crib. So why does it bother like dropping pans and making like growling noises and all the mundane scary stuff?
Yeah.
Also, as a secondary point, why would you spell out what you want on a Ouija board? Because if they were paying attention, they'd go, "Oh, it wants Hunter. We better get Hunter
lock him in a vault so he can't be got."
Or like get him away from this house.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong. It's.
But yeah, like I guess, like we said, perhaps the reason is that it needs to scare people, live off the fear, and the more it's talked about, the stronger it gets.
Right.
So if it wasn't doing anything, no one would remember it, and it wouldn't have any power.
Yeah.
But the discussion of it is what brings it out.
Yeah. There's no real benefit to making people like the first thing he does is knock over the high chair.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, that was
weird."
Yeah. Moves on with her life. Mm-hmm. And then he does, he moves something slightly bigger.
Yeah. Drops a pan or whatever.
Why not just possess her right there?
Well, yeah, maybe it is just a power thing. I mean, it's hard to tell when the boundaries of its power aren't so very clearly defined.
Right.
But yeah, like, I mean, in general, it's, it appears that you can steal the toddler out of its crib from quite an early point. So just do that.
Yeah. And then go for it.
Don't bother with all the scary stuff.
No need, is there?
No.
Wasted energy.
Yeah.
Wasted psychic energy.
Yeah. My one's a bit more mundane.
Go on.
When they leave Ali with Hunter to babysit him so that Daniel and Christy can go out for a lovely meal.
Yep.
They say, remember, don't give him any peanuts.
Right.
Just don't have peanuts in the house.
Yeah.
If you've got an infant who's allergic to peanuts, just throw out the peanuts.
Yeah.
And then it's not even a discussion point, is it? It's not even like, Ali, right, I know we've got peanuts in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Because Daniel loves eating peanuts while he's watching this Cavaliers game or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But now remember that Hunter, your stepbrother, your little tiny infant stepbrother, he's allergic to peanuts. So don't give him them. Right? Don't give him peanuts. And then, there's no chance of the peanuts like falling into the pan when she's making his formula, or
Have you ever made formula? Have you?
It involves nuts.
It doesn't involve a pan, I don't think. But
like whatever.
Would you get the griddle out?
Yeah, exactly. When you're chopping up the formula, so you can fry it or
poach it.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that I've never made formula.
No, exactly. Yeah.
No need to. Be weird if I had, really.
Yeah, because you're still breastfeeding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like it's just don't have them in the house, because it implies saying. No, I'm not reading too much into this, am I? Saying don't give him peanuts. That implies that there are peanuts that you could give him, but just don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, she's not saying don't go out and buy peanuts. Don't think, oh, he's crying, I wonder what he could want. I bet it's peanuts. I'll go to the store, get some peanuts, come back and give him the peanuts. What she's saying is, there are peanuts in the house, don't give them to Hunter.
Yeah. But, okay, in defense of the family, I think all babies aren't allowed peanuts because they might have an allergy and it would kill them instantly. I think maybe you're born with an allergy.
Instantly.
It's something like that.
Yeah, well, you are born. I'm pretty sure people with peanut allergies and nut allergies are born.
No, but I mean all babies.
Right, so some of them grow out of it.
Yeah, I think so. That's possibly right.
Is that listen, if anyone's listening to this raising young children, just give them some peanuts, see what happens.
Yeah, let us know. I'll tell you what, Chris. My mother is a health professional who works with babies and young children. I'm going to give her a ring now. Let's ask her on air.
Hello?
All right, man.
Alright.
How you doing? We're recording the podcast right now, and we're talking about babies, and I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So, in the movie Paranormal Activity 2, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you've seen.
No.
The family leave the house and they tell the babysitter not to give the baby peanuts, right?
Uh-huh.
The question is, are all babies allergic to peanuts?
No, but you don't know what the ones that are, so...
Right.
And exposure it's not necessarily the first exposure, it builds up. So the anaphylactic shock can come with the second one.
Right.
So for the last 10 years or so, it's been that you don't give them anything with peanuts in.
Right.
Also, like a bit older children can inhale them as well.
And choke to
It
death.
goes down the wrong tube, yeah.
Right.
But so that's been it. There is new thinking around perhaps we should be giving it to children or eating it antenatally so that we get them used to it. So because it's like an epidemic of it, isn't it?
Really?
Everybody seems to have really, serious
Allergies.
anaphylaxis to it. Yeah.
In the movie, they say don't give the baby peanuts. So that's good advice. Really?
Yeah, I think you'll find that's how old's the baby?
It's a newborn. It's a baby in arms. So
Wait, why would you give a newborn peanuts?
that's a good point. Yeah.
Toddler, but
There's a toddler. I guess they're feeding it solids, but like mush, not
Yeah, well, you wouldn't give it to them, but if it's a newborn, then it would only have milk.
Yeah. Chris's idea was just not to have peanuts in the house.
Depends how strict you are about it, but you've got to try your child sometime, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, but no, I think the current thinking is changing a
Okay.
bit, but
So you'd say they should give the baby the peanuts anyway, just to test it.
no, I wouldn't say give the baby any peanuts. They don't need to have peanuts, do they?
No one does really.
No. They can when they're a bit older. They'd like a bit of peanut butter spread or something like that.
Right, just to make sure.
Yeah, when they're older.
Right.
But it's always nerve-wracking. It's like the first time you give a baby eggs.
Right, because they can be
All
allergens.
those things. You can have anaphylactic shock to honey, all sorts of things.
Right. That's good advice. All right.
But now, even if you're very allergic to it, just open a packet of peanuts and it gets in the air conditioner on a plane. That's what they say can start off a
Yeah, it's quite bad.
reaction.
So in theory, not having it in the house would be safe.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, that's good advice then. All right.
yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for the advice.
Okay. Hope it made sense.
Yeah, it did. Thank you very much.
So interesting insight there from your mum,
Yeah.
who is qualified on the subject.
21 years as a midwife and probably over 10 years as a health visitor, I think.
Right. So just to repeat the advice there, what was it?
You don't need peanuts, basically.
Don't need peanuts. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Don't have them in the house.
Well, yeah, she didn't disagree with that plan. She said that's maybe throwing the baby out with the peanut butter, but
Right. There you go. Well, that it seemed like a good idea.
it's a fine idea.
Any further thoughts from you, Joe?
Yeah, this is for the police.
Okay. Right. Yeah. An absent.
Yeah, well, they're in the first movie, aren't they? They show up.
Yeah. Right. Well,
Are
depending
they
on
in a
what ending.
different ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my advice to the police is put two and two together. Put murder and identical murder together.
Yeah.
Put
Okay.
murder of one member of the family and identical murder of member of same family together.
Yeah. Although it was only Mika who got murdered, so maybe they were checking his family and going, well, they're all right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I wish there was some other avenue we could explore.
Well, Katie's whereabouts are still unknown, right?
Yeah.
And
As they will always be, yeah.
Yeah. So theoretically, the police would go, well, we need to notify her next of kin, right? Because this is a manhunt, right? She's the murderer. Let's go and find where she is. Let's try her family. The next day, this would be after they found the body.
Yeah.
They go around there. This is in my good police theory. They go around the sister's house. Hello, anyone in? No one's home. There's a fucking body in there.
Yeah.
Oh, right. They've been killed the same way. Let's go on the news and find out where this person... whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And presumably, by the way, at the end of Paranormal Activity 1, it says, Katie's whereabouts are still unknown. She's still out there. Presumably in the months it took to tightly edit that footage in the first film...
and release it.
Yeah. The news of the other murders and the video of Katie...
No, clearly not, because clearly this film... All of this footage was uncovered after the release of the first one, I'm sure.
Right.
Because otherwise, why wouldn't you have it in the first film in the first place? Because at the moment, it seems like they released the first film, and then afterwards it was like, Paramount Pictures has uncovered incredible new evidence and new footage in the, sloped murder. And, because this triples the body count of the first film. So it's quite a substantial bit of evidence.
It's a thing to uncover. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, right? Based on what the police don't seem to be doing, I'm going to tell them what they should be doing.
Okay.
Since they haven't looked at any CCTV footage from the cameras where these recordings took place, look at the CCTV in the local area. Just start basic. Look at shops, look at any car parks, anything like that.
Yeah.
Since they seem to be failed at that most basic level of investigation in the first case. Just spread it out. Look at that. Ask questions of the public, maybe, because I don't know that this isn't hard to. It isn't hard to find the second crime scene.
No,
if you're looking into where Katie could be, but they seem to have done it. So it's Ali who uncovers the bodies, not the police.
Yeah, maybe she went straight to Paramount Pictures and not the police.
Maybe, yeah, probably.
Yeah. With the hard drive of footage.
Yeah, with a blank check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a hell of a hard drive as well to record 8 different cameras.
Yeah, well, a lot of them concurrently delete stuff, I guess.
Really?
Yeah, I'd have thought so.
Well, apparently not. They've got about a year's worth of footage.
Well, that's true. Yeah, no, that's very true. Maybe he's got his own separate sort of backup server.
Yeah, terabyte storage in the cloud or something.
Maybe. Yeah, Paramount Pictures online security system cloud.
Video on demand system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with that in mind, maybe it's a better idea to just not film things.
Yeah.
Because it very demonstrably appears to make the situation worse in both this film and the last film.
Yeah.
I mean, Katie should have followed her own advice to ignore it and hope it goes away.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know about your definition of ignoring things, but mine doesn't include... getting your boyfriend to buy a camera, getting in touch with a medium, and all of the other stuff that she goes through in the first film. Whereas here she is in Paranormal Activity 2, before the events of that film, going, I'd just ignore it if I were you, because that's what helped last time.
Yeah.
I know Daniel makes her the demon's target instead, but that tactic apparently worked in their childhood, so why is she not repeating it? And filming in both instances is shown to be something that angers the demon, as does talking about it. And in both instances where the family films themselves, the people instigating the filming are the ones who die. Therefore, they shouldn't have done that.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out in Paranormal Activity 3. If it is indeed a prequel, and it's set in the childhood of these two girls.
Yeah.
What are they filming on, is my question. And how did they find that footage after the fire that burned down their house?
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get some explanations in 10 weeks' time.
Maybe. So to summarise your last point.
Don't film things.
Maybe we should talk to a film and demon expert. Luckily, my father is one. I'll call him now.
So yes, in 10 weeks' time we'll be back in Paranormal Activity 3. But first, Joe, we have some unfinished business to finally conclude in Camp Crystal Lake. Next week, of course, it's the 13th, Friday the 13th film we'll be covering. And the last one, unless they can get a new one out in the next 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Some time.
We'll probably get that one
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
when it comes out.
They'll do it, and we'll be first in line. I'm sure.
I mean, even if it's like 10 years from now, the podcast has been bought by Warner.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll ring us up and say, boys, it's happening.
Yeah, and we'll know exactly what that means. So if you've got any thoughts on Paranormal Activity 2 or Paranormal Activity or Paranormal Activity 3 or Paranormal Activity 4 or Paranormal Activity the marked ones, then let us know. HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com. Twitter is @HowToSurvivePod. Facebook is facebook.com/HowToSurvivePod.
Yeah. How are you feeling about going back to Camp Crystal Lake next week?
Mixed emotions. It'll be
it's bittersweet, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mainly sweet.
Yeah.
Because it's the last one.
Yeah. But
and I'm bitter about having to do it at all.
It was probably the worst one.
Maybe. It'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah. It's going to be a bumper episode, 4.5 hours long, I think. Because we've got so much to say about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've got the last 13 weeks, 13 episodes
recap,
of just what do we know about Friday the 13th? Everything we've learned along the way. We've really changed as people for watching these films. Yeah, I think. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I've done some wider research. I've looked into the impact it's had on society in general.
I've reassessed my life goals in a very big way.
Yeah. All of it negative.
But if you've got any positive emotions about this podcast in particular, then be sure to leave a review on iTunes. 5 stars is the language of love, and we really appreciate it because it helps us find a wider audience for us to talk about mediocre films too. Yeah, that's wider in the sense of different demographic, not wider in the sense of fatter people. Yeah. Well, then maybe it does that too. Probably. Doesn't discriminate. No. Thanks again for listening. Thank you. Until next week. I don't think there's any quotes we can end on. If it was a quote from the film, it would be 4 or 5 minutes of a still image with a slow rumbling. And then